All right, everyone, welcome back. I am joined here today, as always, and forever on Zoom with Tanner Shuck. Tanner, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Ed. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. Well, Tanner, I'm not sure how many of our listeners follow you. I'm sure a lot of them do.
Probably not that many, but hopefully maybe more after this. We'll see.
But I'll tell you personally, I'm a massive fan of what you do.
Thank you.
I first heard about you when I stepped into the CrossFit scene, probably like late 2013, 2014. I think you've been in the game for a while. We're kind of at the top of the sport in Asia, certainly. And then I've kind of followed your progress as an athlete with a ton of injuries, which I think we can kind of relate on.
Yeah, we can both empathize on that, Matt, for sure.
For sure. So kind of just been getting into some conversation with you over the years about what you're doing with injuries and how you're managing it. And then seeing a massive transition recently into you as a coach who's kind of moved stuff online a little bit more now, putting out some great stuff on your Instagram. I think it's partly, some of it's hilarious. I think you're so genuine and authentic that I think it's really refreshing because a lot of people don't do that these days. But I also think you got some fantastic training philosophies that kind of really stick to like bare roots of the stuff that just works. So I'd love to dig into that. But let me stop talking. Tanner, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what you do.
All right. Well, so I'm based in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. I've been here since 2013. I was actually coaching and training in the Philippines in 2012, and that's kind of what got me in the Asia region. And I competed in CrossFit, the CrossFit Regional in 2013 and 2014 for Asia, and that's, I think, where we crossed paths. I have a background in American football. I played college football back in the United States in Houston, Texas. And so I've always been kind of an athlete, always played sports. I've always loved working out. And once I finished up playing college football, I was kind of looking for something to transition to kind of, I don't know, satisfy like my competitive outlet. And so naturally I fell into CrossFit and competing in that. And, like I said, I ended up in the Philippines, and then shortly thereafter, I got a job opportunity coaching in Dubai because of the Dubai Fitness Championship, or now I guess the Dubai CrossFit Championship. And I've just been out here for the past going on six or 7 years, coaching mainly, and also I have competed in quite a bit in fitness, but the past few years has been mainly coaching just because I've been unable to compete with injuries. But still staying active, still stay fit, and still loving what I do.
Awesome. What are you doing coaching wise right now?
So, well, right now, not a lot just because of the situation, but it's mainly online. But as of now, actually, I don't work. I don't coach CrossFit classes anymore. I basically just work for myself. I do mainly in-person training and also a lot of online remote coaching. And so I've kind of working for myself under my little brand, which is known as like True Strength. I'll kind of show you my logo right there. But I just kind of started that like pretty organically about a little over a year ago. And then I'm just basically my own man, working for myself and showing people how to exercise, coaching, like I said, doing some in-person training and also a lot of online stuff.
And the majority of your clients, Tanner, like what are they striving towards? What are their goals?
Man, I train people of all different ages and ability levels. And I actually only train like 3 or 4 people that want to that aspire to compete in competitive fitness. But most of my clientele, man, is like just everyday general population people that just want to get stronger and, healthy and just more fit. So I work with really anyone, all ages, all ability levels. I can really kind of coach and help anyone, I feel like.
All right, let's take a little backtrack now. I want to talk about your athletic career because I think just personally for me, I've always been really intrigued in you as an athlete.
Thanks.
Because when I came into sport, I came from a rugby background. I was really broken and injured, couldn't do half the stuff in CrossFit. And you were someone who was probably closer to the pinnacle of the sport at the time. So, naturally a lot of us outside, I remember UAE, Dubai, Kuwait, that whole region was like a real hub for high level athletes in 2014. I think you guys are out there. And so for the rest of us, we were kind of all looking from the outside in, kind of in awe of the standard of athleticism there. But where did that come from? You talked about playing football to a high level. Perhaps we could start there. And how far did you get? with their
So,
dreams of making it further?
oh yeah, I can touch upon that. It won't take that long. So I grew up playing college football. Obviously, I'm American. I grew up. Um, I played high school football in Oklahoma, where like high school football in Oklahoma and Texas, that part of the United States, it's almost like a religion. So it's like taken very seriously. I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to play Division I college football in Houston, Texas, at Rice University, and I did that for 5 years. I played. I did have aspirations to play football professionally. However, it's incredibly difficult, and you have to be incredibly lucky, and incredibly talented to actually go play football at a professional level and actually earn money doing it. So I wasn't able to go play it professionally, and so I kind of just naturally gravitated towards another sport, and that just happened to be CrossFit. Like I saw the CrossFit games like on the sports channel ESPN. I remember when I was still playing football, and I just remember thinking to myself, like, all right, if I don't end up playing football professionally, I just know this is what I'm going to do. And so that's what kind of got me into CrossFit. But like I said, I've kind of been an athlete my whole life. I had a pretty extensive background in strength conditioning. Like I started training as a kid, all through high school, all through college. I was training, just getting stronger. And so I came into CrossFit probably with a pretty big advantage over a lot of people, just because I had such a background, like in strength conditioning. I had some really, really good strength coaches in university as well. So that's kind of what got me started on it. And then obviously just when I started doing CrossFit, you kind of figure it out and get better at it as you go.
So what year was this when you first discovered CrossFit?
I discovered CrossFit in 2012. And
So
then,
was that the games that you watched?
yeah, I think so. I want to say it was the games that I want to say Rich Froning won it that year. I think Matt Chan got second. That's all I really remember.
Was that the clean ladder year?
Man,
Had that zigzag clean
to be
ladder?
honest, Ed, like all those competitions, I can't remember exactly. I remember Froning won for sure. And then I remember Matt Chan got second. So I think it was either 2012 or 2013, but I want to say I got into CrossFit in 2012. That's when I first discovered it. And I was still kind of playing college football, and I was doing a bit of CrossFit training on the side. And then once I finished up university, I just like, all right, well, I don't really want to get a real job. I just wasn't ready for that. All I wanted to do was work out. And so I somehow figured out a way to do that. And I ended up taking a vacation to the Philippines because my dad lives there. He's retired. And I just walked in the right place, right time, into a CrossFit gym in the Philippines. And then I just ended up getting taken over a job for John Britton. That's the kind of the backstory on that. But that's how I ended up coaching CrossFit abroad, like outside of the United States.
I didn't realize that Philippines was your first gig as a coach.
Dude, yeah, man, it was like my first gig. I didn't really know what I was doing. Like I did have my level 1, CrossFit certification. I had it, but I had never coached any CrossFit classes. And like John Britton, he was just literally leaving that job, and he was going to South Korea to coach. So I kind of just showed up at the right place, right time, and I took over his coaching job in the Philippines. And then I trained there for like a good 6 to 8 months leading up to the 2013 Asia Regional, which that was like my first ever CrossFit competition, basically. First ever like legitimate CrossFit competition.
Okay, so you've moved to Philippines now, and you're coaching your first coaching job.
Yeah.
Probably realize that you're kind of good at CrossFit and you have some chance of kind of making it somewhere. What happened next? When did you decide to pursue this whole regionals journey?
Actually, I knew when I got into CrossFit, like I knew immediately, I was like, all right, I'm going to the games. That's all there is to it. Like that was kind of my mindset. Like that's all I really cared about, because I saw these guys that were like at the top level, and I just immediately thought there's nothing these guys are doing that I can't do. And I've always been kind of a pretty hardworking guy and pretty tenacious. And so I just started kind of attacking training, and finding out everything I could about CrossFit and how to train for it, and like kind of really trying to refine my Olympic lifting and also my gymnastics. And so that's what I just decided like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. Like I'm going all in, you know, I'm not just going to do it for fun. Like I want to go to the CrossFit Games and I want to be legitimately one of the fittest guys in the world. And so that was kind of my attitude and my approach. And so when I did get a full-time coaching job in the Philippines, it was great because, you know, as a coach, you're coaching whatever, 3, 4, maximum 5 hours a day, but then you have the rest of the day to train yourself. And so I was taking advantage of that. And I just like was just there in the Philippines coaching and training pretty hard leading up to the competition. Like, obviously I was still quite inexperienced. So when I did go to the competition, I didn't do as well as I would have hoped, but I still had a respectable showing. And then thereafter that, I kind of transitioned to Dubai because I went and competed at the Dubai CrossFit Championship. I did fairly well on that. And that allowed me to move to Dubai and actually coach full-time here.
So what were the first things that you did when you decided that, okay, I want to get to CrossFit Games, that's my goal? Like, what did you change up? Obviously, were you training yourself? Did you hire a coach? Were you reading blogs online?
So I've always kind of just trained myself. I remember, do you remember the Outlaw Way?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah. So like that was like a really popular blog program, like back in the day. I remember like following that for a while and thinking like, Jesus Christ, this is like so much exercise and like so much training. Like, I don't even know if I could do this. Like what normal human could do all this training? But I was kind of following that pretty loosely, but, really it just came down to me kind of training intuitively, I feel like, and figuring things out for myself. Like I said, I kind of started CrossFit with like a pretty strong foundation and just like strength, especially with a barbell. Like my gymnastics were terrible, but I realized that and I just kind of just worked at it every day. And I didn't really know anyone. Like I was like 25 or 26 at this time. I was in the Philippines too. Like I didn't really know of any like high level coaches that could really like give me, you know, sound coaching, or something that I like knew was going to be good for me. Plus I don't think I could have afforded it anyway. Like I wasn't making much money to even like, I could barely pay for my own food at that time. So I just kind of figured it out on my own, man, to be honest.
But I mean, back in 2012, 2013, like there actually wasn't really any coaches out there who were doing like individualized coaching wasn't really a thing.
Yeah, there may not have been. Like I said, like I just remember the Outlaw Way. Like I remember all the big CrossFitters were following that, and that was like the program to be doing, you know, to be following. And so I was on
the what was I? I was on the Big Dogs blog because the outlaw stuff was way too heavy for me because I was just weak, very weak.
Yeah, Big Dogs blog. Yeah, I've actually never even heard of that.
Oh, really? That's James Fitzgerald and the OPEX
oh,
now.
Okay, all right. I know James Fitzgerald and OPT.
Yeah.
I know all that stuff. Man, I don't know. I just always kind of figured things out for myself, and I just knew like if I trained really hard that, you know, good things would probably happen. And I just, like I said, man, exercise to me is just something it's kind of came naturally to me, and I've always really enjoyed doing it. And so training myself has just always been my approach. I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like maybe I could use some actual coaching and direction, but at that point in time, kind of as a young man, kind of a younger athlete, like that was the approach I took. So.
Okay. So you got to your first regionals. What happened?
Yeah. So I got to my first regionals, and like that was my first ever like legitimate CrossFit competition. That was in 2013. And I showed up, and honestly, I felt like I was in like quite good shape. I was quite fit, but I just like had a lot of inexperience, and there was at my gym that I was training at in the Philippines, we did not have any rowing machines. So I'd never really spent any time on a rower. And the first workout of the 2013 regionals, if you remember, was Jackie.
Yeah.
So it was like 1,000-meter row, 50 thrusters, and then 30 pull-ups. And dude, obviously like this is my first competition. I'm like thinking I'm going to fucking go in and win this thing. Like, you know, I'm going to try to win this competition on the very first row of this very first workout. And so I went out there, I was super amped up, and I just like blew up on the row. I probably rode like 1,000 meters in around like 3 minutes, like maybe like 3:15. But I basically went anaerobic. I blew up on the row, and then I was the first off the rower by like probably like 30 or 40 seconds. And then I was like second to last off the thrusters. And then I was like I think, last to finish the pull-ups in my heat. So I went so hard on the row, I just completely gasped. And so I had a really bad finish in the very first workout. I think I got 27th place out of the whole competition on Jackie. And so I dug myself in a huge hole. And that's when they were doing the scoring system where like the lowest, the person with the fewest amount of points would win. And so because I had so many points racked up from the terrible first workout, that basically cost me the competition. So I wasn't able to really dig myself out. I still ended up getting, I think, 3rd place in the competition. But like, yeah, I kind of screwed myself the very first workout. Just inexperience.
But that was also the thing back in the day. That was like CrossFit. Who could go as hard as possible and hold on as long as possible.
Dude, I've always been pretty good at that. Like, if you tell me to go hard for like whatever 5 minutes, like I'll go. I'll go. But like, you have to have a bit of strategy and a bit of pacing now. Like, that's what I quickly learned about that. So, it was a good experience for sure.
Okay, so then fast forward a year, 2014 regionals, which is, I think you had an injury there.
Yeah, so obviously I did the 2013 regional. It went I got tied for 2nd place. I got 3rd on a tiebreaker. I didn't go to the games like I wanted to.
Did Mogard go that year?
Yeah, Mike Mogard won.
He won. That was the last time Mogard probably ever won a competition.
It might have been, man. I hope he doesn't watch this podcast.
I hope he does watch this podcast.
Yeah, so it may have been, but yeah, Mike Mogard won that year, and that was all good and great. I kept training, and then I heard about this big crazy competition in Dubai, and like they were giving away quite a bit of money for it, and I was like, this is pretty crazy, and like not a lot of people knew about like the Dubai CrossFit Championship or the Dubai Fitness Championship at that time, and so I heard about it, and I actually just bought my own plane ticket to that competition. So I flew from the Philippines to Dubai, and I had to qualify for the competition when I was there. So that was when they had like in-person qualifiers. There was no online qualifiers. And so I showed up there. I did the qualifier like a week before the competition started. Thankfully, I qualified. Then I ended up doing that competition. Like that was when like not a lot of people knew about it, but there was still some big name CrossFitters there, like Annie Thorsdottir did it that year, Frederick Agidius, Kenny Leverich, Ryan Fisher, and they were all there competing. And so I did that competition there and competing, and I ended up getting 3rd in that competition, which is a pretty respectable showing, because I've been doing CrossFit for about like maybe a year, a little over a year at that time. And so I did that. I actually made a decent amount of money doing it, and I was like, this is awesome. I like this. And luckily, the gym that I started working for, CrossFit Metalize, that gym was just they were about to open up and they needed a coach. And so because I had a good showing in that competition, I got offered a job in Dubai to coach. And so that was kind of my transition after 2013 to 2014. So I did the competition, and then the 2014 regionals. Sorry, this is a long way to answer your question.
That's good.
I was training up for the 2014 regionals, feeling really good. I won the open for my region that year. So like I placed 1st in the open, and I was going into the 2014 regionals feeling pretty good, but I actually had like a knee injury, like a kind of a nagging knee injury that I was training through at that time. And I was not smart in how I was training. I was definitely overtraining, not listening to my body and trying to push through the pain just because all I cared about was competing and trying to win. And so I ended up getting to the competition, and my knee was so bad that I couldn't even compete. Like I couldn't do a squat. I couldn't do an air squat. I couldn't do anything. Like the only event that I was able to do in the 2014 regional was the handstand walk. So I actually had to withdraw from the 2014 regional. And then after that 2014 regional, obviously I didn't go to the games because I withdrew. But then later on that year, there was the 2014 Dubai Fitness Championship competition, which thankfully I was healthy enough to compete at. And so then I competed in the 2014 Dubai Fitness Championship, and I won that. And then that was in like September of 2014. And after I won that competition, I've just been kind of plagued with injuries since then. And so I've just been dealing with injury after injury after injury, but still able to coach and train and do the best I can.
So kind of like in hindsight, looking back to the fact that, you had like this glorious run in 2014 and then suddenly like, hit with a bunch of injuries. Like, what do you think? What do you think contributed to you having all these injuries? Because I don't think you've been able to compete really since then, right?
No, dude, I haven't competed since 2014. I mean, I've done like a few like super small little mini competition, like single workout things that I could do. But no, I haven't really competed in like a legitimate CrossFit competition since 2014. And to answer your question, what do I think contributed to all my injuries? I think a lot of it probably stemmed from my background in American football. I think it all kind of originated from uh, a knee injury I had playing American football where I tore my anterior cruciate ligament.
Yeah.
And so that kind of led to like a cascade of other injuries with like my other knee, because my quadriceps tendon was really bad on my left knee, because I think I was compensating with my left knee for my right knee. And basically I ended up having just a bunch of injuries with my knees, and I had quite a few surgeries. Like I had my ACL redone on my right knee. I had a meniscus transplant done on my right knee because my lateral meniscus was basically gone. And so I had to get a new meniscus put in my knee. And then that my left knee, also my quadriceps tendon, like I mentioned before, like that's like still not 100% right. It's actually doing better than it has in a long time, which I'm kind of excited about. And then also I had like shoulder surgeries too. Like I had a lot of shoulder impingement. So I had 4 shoulder surgeries and I tore my rotator cuff. Like, dude, my injury history, we could have an entire podcast about that. So it's just been rough, like one injury after another that I've always just been dealing with. It's like when one thing gets healthy, like another problem starts. Like that's kind of the way it's been for me. I don't know if that's the way I train, or if it's just like, I don't think it's really how I train. I think it's really just kind of bad luck, to be honest.
I think as well, probably, I mean, because I'm in a similar boat to you, I guess. I've had 4 shoulder operations as well, 2 in each
But
shoulder.
you've had a knee. You've had a really a long time nagging knee injury, I believe. If that's
Yeah,
not.
so I had similar to you, I had an ACL reconstruction. Then I got 6 months later, like a Staph aureus infection in it, which was basically wiped my knee out. Yeah, that was way worse than the actual ACL. And then that basically ate my ACL away, started to eat away at PCL and meniscus, and basically created like onset of osteoarthritis.
Yeah.
So that's just something that's just going to be there forever now. So I actually haven't had an ACL for I think 5 years now.
Oh, bro, so you don't even have an ACL. Like
No.
it's just not there. So your knee, basically the only thing that's keeping your knee stable is just probably your leg's strong, your muscles.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
skin and bones is keeping it all together. But
Wow.
I think it's interesting because you look back at, I certainly look back at times when I was training, perhaps twice as much as I am now, 2 sessions a day, 5-6 days a week. But I think, you have to factor in resilience. When we're younger adults, like we can just handle more. And as like stresses of life and age starts to creep up on us, like our tolerance to all those things starts to decrease.
Dude, I agree with that 100%. And also I think, maybe your priorities change a bit as well. I think, like I definitely probably overtrained a lot, especially when I was younger, like, 26, 27, 28 years old. Like I was probably training too much. I think I could have done just as well, training with a bit less volume. Cause like I'm actually a bigger proponent of like training intensity versus training volume. So like I would rather do one really good session a day, like just do 1 hour of training a day, but put everything I have into that one session versus trying to train 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
Because like
I completely agree.
if you think about it, man, training, bro, that tears down your body. Like exercise in general, like you're legitimately breaking down your body, and then your body adapts by recovering from that training to build itself up bigger and stronger. But if you're constantly training and constantly tearing your body down, you're never really giving your body an opportunity to repair itself. And that there's like a cumulative effect to that. And if you do that, for a long time, months or years, like your body just breaks down over time. And I think a lot of that was stemmed just from CrossFit and like the kind of the culture of CrossFit. Like you had dudes doing like 6 wads a day, and this is what it's going to take to get to the CrossFit Games and all this kind of stuff. And I think a lot of that was just people not really thinking for themselves and just thinking they had to train, 5 times a day to make it if they wanted to make it. Whereas I don't really believe that anymore. I think, like I said, if you can just train with the proper intensity and, you know, obviously recover well enough, I think you'd be just fine.
Yeah, I think a lot of that as well probably stems to the fact that like it was such a young sport. Like we didn't
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
know.
Dude, no one really knew
We
what
didn't
they
really
were.
know.
No one, and you know, to a point, a lot of people still they may not be sure. Like CrossFit, in a way, it's still kind of a newer sport. There's not a lot of like science or data to back up like the most effective training methodologies to do it.
No.
And it's super hard to do because like every year CrossFit's different. Like, you know, like the competition's different. You never know what you're going to be like doing, and so it's really hard to train for, in my opinion. Like, I think you're better off, like the best way to train for it, and this is just my opinion, is to literally just get as strong as you possibly can, and then obviously be pretty fit. But like, I don't believe in, you know, doing a whole lot of conditioning because I think it just breaks your body down too much. I think you're better off trying to maximize your strength and then still doing some conditioning, but still, you know, going into a competition not being so broken down. That's just my kind of philosophy on that.
No, because I like that, because I think for anyone who does follow you, that's probably a message that you get out probably on a daily basis. You know, the importance of strength, getting
Dude,
strong.
that's all like these days, like for the past like 2 years, that's like I've just come to the realization that like strength is pretty much everything. I mean, yeah, you have to be fit for sure, but like if you're not strong, like you're never going to be like an elite level CrossFit athlete or elite level fitness athlete. Like the best athletes are the strongest athletes. And I mean, you'll kind of like, if you look at anyone that's like finished on the CrossFit Games podium, like all those guys and all those girls, they're like legitimately quite strong. You know, they may not have like the best like work capacity or engine, but they have decent capacity, but they're going to be quite strong. And like, I think Matt Frazier is like a pretty good example of that as well. I mean, that dude's good at everything, but like he had a background in Olympic weightlifting. I think that was like a huge advantage for him, you know, over a lot of people. And he's just, you know, he's ridiculously strong. And I feel like being stronger, it helps you at everything. Like the stronger you are, the better you are at everything. So that's why I place such a huge emphasis on getting stronger.
I think especially like with your clientele and, you know, the majority of my clientele who are kind of just folks just trying to get better at life and trying to be fit, strong and healthy, then I think even more of a stake to claim for the importance of strength training just for general population.
Dude, absolutely. Like that's another thing that, and I'm not being critical or anything, but I feel like a lot of like general population that go into a CrossFit gym, they're they're not they're not being coached the way they should be coached. Like people like everyday general population, like they just want to be able to like look good, feel good, you know, and move decently well. Like I don't really feel that general population people, they need to learn like Olympic lifting. They don't need to be doing like squat snatches immediately. Like they should just learn how to, you know, do a basic front squat or a basic strict press first. Become competent in the very basic like strength movements. And then if they decide they like CrossFit and like they want to go compete or do something like that, then they can be introduced to Olympic lifting. But I feel like a lot of people, you know, they'll go into a CrossFit gym and they'll immediately start learning, you know, a squat snatch when they really have no business doing that. And it's not going to help them get better really at anything. So I think just going back to basics is like the biggest thing. And I coach all my people on that. And like, while it's so basic, it kind of has to be like, that's just the most important way to spend your time training. And that's going to not only for health, but also for longevity, you know, like getting better at just doing basic air squats and front squats and back squats, in my opinion, is much more important than worrying about, you know, how good your squat clean technique is. So that's kind of my philosophy on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really comes down to the definition of what the gyms a lot of people go into and what they define as fitness, right? Because we can obviously sit here and bash the people who go into CrossFit gyms who are only probably responding to an advert or what they heard from a friend and family member who's at that gym already. When really like every single CrossFit gym has their own, they have an ability to have their own unique prescription on what they think fitness is.
Dude, absolutely, man. Like every CrossFit gym you go into is different, you know? And so like I think the consistency or the quality of training you go in, it's very diluted. It really just depends on who's the owner of the gym and who's coaching there and all of that and what they see. Like, to be honest, I don't like many CrossFit gyms. I wouldn't even go in and train at a lot of them these days. I'd rather just go into like a bodybuilding gym and just like kind of do my own thing. But that's maybe because that's just how I feel about it. And I just have noticed not enough people, in my opinion, place enough emphasis on just bare bones, basic strength work. Like for me, I know for me, like the only reason I've had any success competing in fitness is because I've had a solid foundation in just basic ass strength, you know, squats, presses, lunges, pull-ups, these kind of things, like more like almost like bodybuilding style training. Like that's the only reason that I've had really any success in CrossFit is just because I had good foundational strength. And that's what I think that most people need, you know, and that's what I train most of my clients with, just, you know, basics.
It's funny because I just did an episode last week with my coach, Kyle Ruth, who's one of the guys at Training Think Tank.
Training Think Tank. Yeah.
Yeah. And we touched on a lot of these conversations as well. And I think, you know, what we agreed on was that people forget the work that the people at the top of the sport have put in to get to the point that they're at. You know,
dude, they've been doing it for years, man. Like seriously, years. You know, they don't just show up and are able to handle the weights they're handling or do the high level gymnastics. Like they've definitely put in the time and the work.
Yeah, I mean, your story like says it all there as well. You know, since the day you can remember, you've been lifting weights and training, and then that moved into sport with football, and then
dude, like
by the time you started
legitimately,
CrossFit, 10 years.
I've been exercising for over 20 years. Like I'm 32 now. I started working out like in a gym when I was like 7 or 8 years old. Like legitimately, like my dad just started me really young, and like I grew up in a gym, and so I immediately had a big head start from a lot of people. And I think people, they don't realize like, you know, my training age, you know, and how long I've been doing this. Like, bro, I didn't just fucking wake up like lean and muscular. You know, I was not like this. Like I've worked for years to do that. And I promise you, I've done, you know, more strict pull-ups and more strict push-ups and more squats than, you know, most people I know. Like I've definitely put in time and work and work at it. So that's the thing, man. Like there's no shortcuts to it. Like anybody that's really good at fitness or CrossFit, like they've definitely had to put the time in. Like there's just really no way around it, in my opinion. So,
all right. So Tanner, what are you training for right now? Like if competition's not a goal anymore, what's keeping you going?
So my current training, honestly, Ed, I just like working out is literally, that's what makes me happy. So I never really got into CrossFit to coach per se. I got into CrossFit because I just love working out. And I still am like that. Luckily, I'm actually quite a good coach and I actually really care about, you know, helping people. And I've been able to use coaching to make a living and sustain myself. And I do genuinely enjoy helping people. But right now my training, I'm not really focused on any competitions. Obviously it's not like any competitions are going on right now, but I'm trying to get my knees healthy enough to actually even compete again. Like I'm not going to like shut the door on competing just because this sounds, not to sound arrogant, I say this with humility, but like I'm really good at working out. Like I know that. And if I can ever get to the point where I feel confident enough that I can compete again, then I'm going to go back and compete. And I'm going to do that just because that's what makes me happy. So right now I'm still training. I'm training more now than I have been just because I have more time with the whole quarantine. But I'm just training to get strong. Like my fitness is I always have a good baseline of like fitness, like aerobic capacity. But right now I'm just focusing on getting as strong as I can, like with squatting, deadlifting, single leg movements, and just trying to get my knee in better shape to where I feel like I can handle some respectable weight, like on like a squatting movement, whether that be like a back squat, front squat, or squat clean. I'm not really doing any snatching or anything at the moment just because I don't really feel like there's a point. Plus I'm in my apartment. I might like break something, but you know, that's really what my training is like now. I just really think about just getting as strong as I can. And a lot of my strength work is actually just body weight strength, like gymnastics. So I spend a lot of time focusing on gymnastics and then, like just strength work with a little bit of intense conditioning thrown in there kind of towards the end of most of my sessions.
So at what point are you going to decide with your training that, you know, okay, I think my knee's at a point now where I'm ready to compete? Is there a litmus test that you have? Is it going to be more of a subjective feel? Like when are you going to know that, all right, I've got to start to I now actually have to start snatching and I now have to start doing stuff that I probably haven't been doing in my training?
Probably like, I think if I can get to the point where I'm like squatting like 315 or whatever, like 140 kg, if I can get to the point where I'm squatting that for, at least 10 or 20 reps, like that's when I'll know like I'm able to compete again. Like that's like just like the litmus test in my mind. I'm not even going to worry about like snatching or cleaning that much until I get my squat where I want it to be. If I can even do that, I'm not sure if my knees even going to allow me to do that. I hope it will. But dude, I've kind of realized that like spending a lot of time on Olympic lifting to me is not the most useful way to spend my time. Like I'd be much better served just focusing on bare bones, basic strength work, because I've kind of mastered the technique of snatching and clean and jerking, like to a point where like I can do it well enough to, if I want to do more weight or get better at it, I literally just need to get stronger. And so I'm going to get to where I can deadlift and squat heavy again. And then if I feel confident, like obviously when you're doing Olympic lifting, you're handling kind of sub maximal loads. And if I can handle a pretty heavy back squat, then I know like doing a clean or a front squat or, a push press or a squat snatch, I'll be fine handling those weights. So to me right now, it's all about just getting my baseline strength numbers better to where I feel pretty confident I could actually try to compete again. Again, I don't know if my knees are going to hold up. Like right now, I'm really just trying to add like 5 or 10 pounds to the bar, like kind of every week. And I'm just doing like high volume, high sets of squats, like sets of like 15 and 20. And I'm just kind of taking it from there as of right now. And we'll see where it goes, man.
And are you building yourself a program? Or are you just training intuitively based on how you feel in the day?
I basically have like a program that I kind of stick to. Like I do a lot of just like strict pressing, deadlifting, and like now I've just recently started squatting again, and I'm super thankful I can do that because I haven't been able to squat for like literally years. And I have like a kind of a really basic program that I follow. Like, dude, I don't get too scientific with training. I kind of do it more intuitively. And the way I look at it is as long as I'm increasing reps using the same amount of weight, then I know I'm getting stronger. Or if I know that I'm increasing weight and I'm able to perform the movement for the same number of reps with more weight, I know I'm getting stronger. That's like just like the kind of basic premise of like progressive overload. Like if you can lift the same weight for more reps, you're getting stronger. Or if you can lift more weight for the same number of reps, you're getting stronger. And I take a very slow step-by-step approach on it. Like week to week, workout to workout, I'll just gradually add a little bit of weight. And that's my approach.
I mean, that's just linear periodization to a T.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, in a way. And sometimes obviously if I have like a super heavy day of deadlifts or things like that, I'll take a week off and I'll deload from it because I know that like my body just can't handle it. And so I do train intuitively and I give myself breaks when I feel like I need it. Like I've done so much exercise, I kind of know my body and I know myself that when I have it, like I can push myself when I need to, but when I'm not feeling good or when I know it's not in the tank, then I give myself a break, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and how long? I mean, just thinking about the majority of our listeners because these are all messages that we relay probably on a daily basis. I'm sure you do with your population, we do with our population. It's topics we always talk about in the podcast. But at which point in your journey did you start to really hone in on the importance of taking rest days, listening to your body, acting on how you're feeling? When to push harder, when to back off, because I think a lot of people sit in a current space where they don't really know where that is. And you can probably relate yourself back in 2013, 14 when you were driving hard to be an athlete. And a lot of people have like far-reaching goals where they're perhaps on that line between health and performance, and they're kind of taking a daily risk as to perhaps pushing it too much. When do you know that, okay, I need to start acting on how I'm feeling now. I need to start training a bit smarter rather than harder.
Yeah, man. I really think it depends on the individual and what they're training for and what their goals are. Like, I think my situation might be a bit different than most other people's simply because like I legitimately had a good opportunity to maybe go compete at the CrossFit Games, or I've competed at high levels. And also just my background in competitive sport, like that's kind of been ingrained into me. And so like, I know how to push myself super hard when I need to push hard. And I only push myself to that level, like when I know I really absolutely need to, because in a way, like, I don't really know if competing is actually even that good for you. It's not. I don't think it is good for you.
Nah,
It's not good for your body. It's
definitely
really
not.
not, because you're really redlining it and you're pushing yourself to things that your body may not be meant to do, at least not that often.
Yeah.
And so I train for the most part. I always push myself pretty hard because like I said, I'm a competitive guy and I want to get bigger and stronger still. Like I'm still trying to do that. But at the same time, like I kind of keep the end sight in mind, like the end goal in mind. Like I'm not training for any competitions right now. So I know if I can take these little small baby steps, like baby progress, that I'm headed in the right track. Like, if I can strict press 150 pounds for 8 reps this week, if I can strict press 150 for 9 reps next week, then I know I'm getting stronger. I'm headed in the right direction. I'm not going to like beat myself up or, try to push way too hard too soon, for no reason. Cause that's how I've gotten injured. And so I take a very slow, kind of methodical approach to it. And as long as I see myself getting stronger, like my baseline numbers getting a little bit better, week to week or month to month, or, training block to training block, then I'm happy. Like, I feel like most people, they get too caught up in the here and now and they don't keep the big picture in mind. Like, they should ask themselves, all right, am I better than I was 6 months ago? Am I stronger than I was 6 months ago? Like, if I'm stronger and better than I was, then I know I'm on the right track. And I feel like people, they need to also realize, like, dude, you got to be patient, man. Like, people, I don't think enough people are patient enough, and like, that's what I find myself as a coach telling people, like, dude, it takes time to get strong. It takes time to be able to do a strict muscle up. You don't just get that like that. It just doesn't work like that. You got to earn it. And so I just tell people, like, if you really want to get better at this, you got to be willing to put in the time and the effort and the work, and just be patient. Like, that's like the biggest thing I could probably preach to people. Like, someone like you've been playing sports your whole life. Someone like me, I've been playing sports my whole life. Like, we've put in a lot of time and work to get to where we are today. So I emphasizing people to be more patient and not be in such a rush. Like, that's kind of one thing I would really stress to people.
Love it. So many good takeaways there. And if it comes from you, someone who's, been and done that and gone pretty far within the sport, I think it holds even more weight for kind of most people listening to this. And,
that, and just, dude, tell people to get better at basics. To just try to get better at squatting, get better at deadlifting, get stronger with their strict press, their bench press. Try to do more strict unbroken pull-ups. The stronger you are, like, literally the better you are at everything. Like, that's another big message that I'd want to like send to people, like to have them like take away from this like podcast. So
awesome.
Just basic strength, man.
All right, Tanner, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about nutrition real quick, because
Sure, bro.
I know you have some
went off on a tangent. Yeah.
Nah, it's fantastic. But I know you feel very strongly about some certain things with nutrition, specifically with regards to yourself.
Most definitely.
So please shed some light on what your beliefs are and where did they come from?
All right. So again, and I'll premise this with, I think everyone's a bit different and everyone's body may react differently, but I know what works for me. And I've discovered this probably over the past like 2 or 3 years, but I eat mainly like 80% of my calories, probably 70 to 80% probably come from animal foods, specifically meat and eggs. And so I eat a massive amount of meat, a massive amount of eggs, and I do eat some carbohydrates, but I'm kind of specific on when I eat them. But basically, I just live on like steak, eggs, lamb, and yeah, that's really about it. For my carbohydrate sources, I stick with like white rice and potatoes mainly, and I don't eat any foods that come in packages. Like, I avoid all packaged foods, like 100%, like protein bars, anything like that. Like, anything that might be quote unquote healthy or organic, if it comes in a package, I don't eat it, man. Like, literally, I just eat meat and eggs. That's what I've discovered that works best for me. That's what I feel the best on. That's what I feel strongest, when I feel my strongest. And like, I don't know, dude, like, just my training and my body has reacted really well to that. Once I started eating more meat and eggs, I felt like I just got bigger. I got stronger. My body composition improved. My recovery improved. My sleep improved. And that's just basically me telling people to eat real whole foods. So that's like my biggest, I'd say, message to tell people to just eat real whole foods and avoid packaged foods as much as possible. You know?
Yeah, I
So,
think that's twofold. It's funny because a lot of these diets, like let's say the carnivore diet right now, which is getting a lot
yeah,
of media attention.
it's been popular for the past like year, 2 years for sure. I've
Yeah,
actually tried that. I've tried that. So
yeah. I mean, you're probably not that far away from executing it, right? Bar the fact
no,
you put some carbs in there.
yeah, I just discovered when I did carnivore diet, like I literally for 8 weeks I ate nothing but steak, eggs, and maybe a little bit of cheese, but that's literally all I ate. I was like strict with it. I just noticed like I was lean because obviously you're not eating any carbohydrates. You're basically on a strict ketogenic diet, but my energy levels were fine. They were quite stable throughout the day. Like I didn't have any dips or anything like that, but my strength I felt like was a bit less because I didn't have any muscle glycogen, and like my muscles were flat. So I probably lost about like 5 or 10 pounds of weight just because, I didn't have, my body wasn't holding any water or any carbohydrates. And that's not conducive. That's not conducive for how I train or, what I want to do. But in general, I think the carnivore diet, I did notice that like the inflammation in my body was way down. Like my aches and pains in my joints kind of went away. I felt really good in a lot of ways, and like my energy levels were very stable. But I don't think it's sustainable. That's the problem with it, man. It's like I think the most important thing to find, about eating is you need to find a healthy, sustainable way to eat that works for you. And you have to be realistic, man. Like I'm an extremist, and the relationship I have with food, it took me time to develop this relationship. Like I don't look at food I don't eat food for pleasure anymore. I eat mainly only for purpose. Like I can look at food and be like, all right, I know eating this will give my body what it needs to feel good and perform well, you know? And so a lot of people still struggle with that. A lot of people are very emotional, when it comes to food and eating, and far too many people, they eat for pleasure instead of eating for purpose. And I feel like if more people could kind of change their relationship with food and how they look at food, they'd be far better served. They'd be a lot healthier, like obesity is literally, that's a way, way bigger epidemic than, coronavirus. I promise you that. So that's kind of my takeaway on food, but I just go really, really heavy on meat and eggs. And like I said, I eat carbohydrates a little bit throughout the day. It really depends on what I'm doing that day in my training. Like if I'm going to train twice a day, I'll have a bit more carbohydrates. If I'm only going to train once a day, I'll have carbohydrates immediately before, during, and immediately after my training session. And if I'm not training that day at all, if I'm taking a rest day, I may not eat any carbohydrates at all that day. So in a way, I kind of do my own carb cycling, if that makes sense, like carb timing and things like that.
Yeah, Tanner, you are just the king of doing the simple shit really well, huh?
Bro, yeah, you could say that. Like, I don't overthink things. I don't overanalyze things. I keep my protein intakes pretty high, and I just eat real food, man. Like, I don't really like chicken. I don't eat much chicken. I eat mainly just steak and lamb because that's like the highest quality meat you can get. It's the most nutrient dense. It has the best nutrient profile. And I just noticed when I stopped eating chicken, I like switched exclusively to steak and lamb. I also eat a little bit of fish, but not that much. But when I switched just eating more steak and lamb, bro, like I just got more muscular and stronger, and like I felt better, and like my muscles, they were more full, if that makes any sense. Like, and I say this with humility, but like I weigh about 205, so about 93 or 94 kilos, and like I'm solid. Like, I'm pretty lean. I'm quite muscular. And I mean, I don't hold much body fat. And I really attribute that to just the way I eat. And also I just do a lot of bare bone strength work, So I think just eliminating a bunch of the shit out of your diet will do wonders for you.
Love it. All right, Tanner, wrap this up. What does the future hold for you? What is your goal? What is your mission?
All right. If I had to say it like right now, that's a hard question to answer, Ed. I appreciate you asking me because it makes me think about it. Right now, I want to continue focusing on building more like business online, getting more, I guess, clients and more programs built that people can follow. And I want to encourage more people, or I want to impact more people, just to do bare bones strength work, get better at basics. To do that, I want to also influence people just to stop eating so much unhealthy shit. Like just eat real whole foods. Like nutrition doesn't need to be complicated. It really doesn't. I want to help people kind of change their relationship with food and how they look at food. And then I'd say probably the third thing that I want to do is like, dude, I want to get healthy again, and I want to like try to go compete again, whether that would be in CrossFit or like the Masters. I don't really know, but I feel like I didn't really get to end my fitness career on my own terms just because of injuries. So if I can ever get my body to hold up to where I feel like I can confidently compete, I'd love to go back and compete again. And that's why like you're still going to see me training pretty hard, and I'll always be quite fit, because that's always in the back of my mind is like trying to come back and compete. Like I would love to be able to do that. So I'm not going to rule it out. So that's like my plans as of right now, man.
Good stuff. Where can people find out about you, Tanner?
Dude, Instagram. Like that. I do have a website and I am working on that. But like, if people want to find out anything about me or get in touch with me, they can find me on Instagram. I'm very active, and that's literally my first name, Tanner_Shuck. That's my Instagram handle, and I'm quite active on it, and I always get back to anyone.
And if someone's going to ask you, Tanner, what will I get out of following you? What would you reply?
I think they'll get a pretty interesting perspective on fitness, nutrition, lifestyle. Like one thing I am is like I'm quite extreme. I have very strong beliefs about training, very strong beliefs about nutrition, and I'm very consistent. And I think if anyone that follows me for any amount of time, they'll see that. Like I guarantee, man, like I want to be doing this next year. I'll be doing it the year after that, and probably for the next 15, 20 years. Like I'm always going to be working out, and I'm always going to be preaching people to eat real whole foods and be healthy, and also to train hard. Another thing I want to tell people is to train with purpose. Like don't go into the gym and waste time. Like go into the gym and actually get work done and get better.
Nice, buddy. Tanner, well, this has been fantastic, mate. And I appreciate you giving us some insights into your story and your purpose, and, just finding out a little bit more about you. It's been good.
Dude, well, Ed, I actually have to tell you, bro, I've really enjoyed following you and your brother Ant, and it was an honor for me to be on your podcast. And I've just seen what you've been able to do with your gym, Coastal, and I think it's been amazing watching you guys grow and only continue to get better. So I'm super excited to see what the future holds for your gym, for your Earned Athletic Apparel company, man. Like, dude, you're someone that I look up to and follow closely, bro, because like you're an entrepreneur, you're a successful business guy, and you're obviously doing it for the right reasons and helping people. So, dude, much respect to you, and I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. It's very kind of you. All right,
dude,
team.
We'll stay in touch, man.
Absolutely. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.